Good afternoon again. We actually called our meeting to order at noon today and had a closed session personnel matter discussion and then recessed until 2. So I'm happy to call the meeting back to order. This is our regular meeting for November the 2nd, 2023. And we are going to begin our meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner McDaniel. I'd like to ask you to stand if you are able. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we actually get to our business items on the agenda today, Kyle Haney and Andrea Sheets of our Community Economic Development would like to come forward, just have a very brief special presentation to the board, and they may be joined by some other folks too. I don't know. Good.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Last time you were here, I was here before you. I was asking you all for some money to fund a career exploration and awareness event called The World of Work about a month ago. That event happened a couple weeks ago. A couple of you were there. It was a joint effort with the school system, Forsyth Tech, the Chamber of Commerce, funded by County ARPA dollars, and it was resounding success. Over 60 employers, every 8th and 10th grader, and to show their appreciation, our partners from the Chamber and the school system are here today.
Thanks, Andrea, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the County Commissioners. Thank you so much for your investment through the ARPA grant dollars to our future workforce. Pretty powerful and moving event. Our World of Work event overtook the Joel Coliseum, and it's just something that we have been talking about and dreaming about for years, and to be able to bring it to life and see those students really dreaming about it. We even got to see our county manager work some of the equipment and lay some brick there, and did a fantastic job as well. It was a really exciting day, and it's really hopeful that, as you know, our students that participate in career technical education graduate at a very high rate, over 98% graduation rate. And it was scheduled at this time to try to encourage our young people to take more CTE classes, so that that graduation rate and that focus on their career path, we can really show them what the world has to offer for all of our students. So every 8th grader and every 10th grader and some of our seniors and even our adult learner community had opportunities to come through and look for jobs and explore what was ahead. And we could not have done that without you and your support, as well as the support of Bloom Construction. That was our other presenting sponsor. We have today 2 of the folks that made this happen. We have Kim Forbes, the Executive Director for the CTE program at the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System, and Terry Cummings, our VP of HR and Talent on our team. They did a fantastic job in planning this with Andrea and Kyle and the rest of our ARPA partners, but I would like to ask Kim to say a few words to you and provide a special presentation. Thank you. Kim?
I just can't thank y'all enough for your support, because without your willingness and understanding the vision of what was going to happen, it wouldn't have happened. So it's a heartfelt thanks for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, our teachers, our students, our counselors across the board. We had close to 5,000 students that actually came in 2 days, getting them there and getting them back safely. But we had almost 63 businesses participate. And we had, I wrote my notes so I could remember, we had 30 of our career and technical education teachers from the high schools and 15 of their students in their programs represented there. And we had 4 higher ed programs there to share with the students as well. The impact, while I can't give you numbers, we are seeing a difference in student interest. They're going now to their counselors saying, I didn't know this existed. How do I get in this program? How do I register for this class? Which is amazing. And that was the intent, is to make those connections for those students to be college and career ready. It's not either or, it is both. So with that, I want to thank you, but we also wanted to present you with this laser cut project that actually came out of Kernersville Middle School. We had a teacher, Mr. Bo Gardner, who was sharing, he's at the high school now, but he was sharing with the students and the teachers the ability, and we took your logo and they imprinted it with the laser cutter as a part of the tools in the classroom, just as a thank you to say the impact that you had on our students was phenomenal. So we want to thank you for that. I don't know how we, do you want me to
Chair
bring it to
Martin,
you?
Chair Martin, I
You could give
do,
it to the clerk on the end, and she could
Okay.
send it
All
down.
right.
That'd be perfect, thank you.
Chair Martin, I do want to just thank Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools and this community for this event. It is cutting edge, it's forward, is what I think I heard when we went to the state conference for county commissioners, what the state is looking for as it relates to our school districts connecting in a direct and relevant way for vocation. However, I did get a call from one of the citizens, a grandparent, and she was disappointed that her granddaughter was not able to attend this event, and primarily because there was just some quirkiness going on in the school. And so I make reference to this. I did speak with the superintendent because I think we need to let schools know this is not about kids can't come because they may have a discipline issue or what. This is about, we're trying to make sure that our students have access to a vocation, and that any issues that we can try to reconcile to make sure that every student has an opportunity to, of course, meet the demands of what's necessary in the workplace. That's what this is about. And I really even appreciated how Dr. Martin talked about, as a grandparent, his granddaughter saying how much she enjoyed the event. But unfortunately, another grandparent, my grandchild was not able to attend because of some quirkiness going on at one of our high schools. So I just appreciate the community making sure that our high schools know that this is not about a field trip. This is about access to workplace and employment in our county and throughout our state, really.
I hope you, at least when you spoke with the superintendent, shared that school. And so there could be some, I just remember some days I appreciated no more details, which was good. But we spoke, actually commented, I know several of us were able to spend several hours there that day, which it really was, just the logistics of planning that day were challenging, and certainly Bloom Construction, went the extra mile, and Chamber, I think you all went the extra mile, and school district organization, and teachers, and counselors, and chaperones, and the logistics of the transportation of 5,000 young people. I mean, that's a lot of work. So it was, but I think it was a day that really meant a lot to kids, because it's nothing like seeing that and remembering that. So it was a great, thank you all for your work, and thanks for the laser etching of our county seal, which was really great. So thank you for coming today and
Chairman, if I
sharing
may,
that.
though, I do have a question. So what's next? Is this a one and done?
Yeah, you gonna do one in the spring?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really exciting. Just yesterday, one of our programs, our employer credentialing program for our students that are in 11th and 12th grade, as they look forward, we had 83 students complete a 15-hour employability credentialing program. So our goal is to have that pipeline starting from 8th grade all the way through graduation and into our workforce. As it relates to the world of work, we were really excited. We had Representative Donnie Lambeth. We had other state representatives from the school system, the statewide office there. We're hopeful to do this again. And it's a large undertaking, and so we will look to our community partners as well as potentially the county again to look at ways to fund and make sure we have equity in allowing this opportunity for students every year as best we can, so that if you are in ninth grade this year, you get a chance to come next year instead of missing out on it altogether. So we're working really hard on that. I think right now we're still catching our breath and making sure we got everything out of the Coliseum from the event and cleaned up okay. But we're hopeful to be able to do that as we move forward.
Sounds awesome.
Yes,
I think, listening to Commissioner Woodbury, I think that maybe a yearly, and then offering that to open up for other avenues for others as well. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Citizens who are interested in participating in the public portion of the meeting today, please call 336-422-1200, and you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. And any member of the audience who's interested in participating in the public session meeting, you just need to have filled out a speaker card and given to our clerk. That could even take place even right this moment. And the first item on the agenda is a resolution supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans in Forsyth County. And Commissioner Wisenhunt is going to just share part of it, not read the whole resolution, and appreciate her doing that.
Yeah, thank you. This is such an important time for us. It's our second year to be participants in this national initiative, and I'm very excited. In fact, the communications department is doing a video about this and has invited some of our employees who are veterans to participate in the video, so be sure to look for that. But I'm just going to share the last two paragraphs of the resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby support Operation Greenlight by lighting certain county buildings green during the period from November 6th through November 12th, 2023, the week of Veterans Day, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. And be it further resolved that in observation of Operation Greenlight, Forsyth County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in a window of their place of business or in their residence during the week of Veterans Day, November 6th through November 12th. And I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Carries unanimously, and thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution declaring the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners' intent to close a portion of Morris Street, just off of Old 311 Old Walkertown Road, and calling a date for a public hearing on the matter. It was brief. The information was shared maps last week. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Vice Chair Wisenhunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The public hearing on the closing this little small section of Morris Street, it actually is already set for December the 7th, 2023 at 2 p.m. The third item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the meeting of October 19th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wisenhunt. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Chairman, we have one phone call and 4 speaker cards.
All right, thank you.
Would you like to start with the phone call or?
You get off, yes,
Okay.
please, thank you.
Are now available. Thank you.
Thank you for calling the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners Public Session Line. This session is for comments only and questions cannot be answered. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jackie Seabolt, 4153 Gray Tuck Drive, Winston-Salem.
Thank you. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each and a 30-second warning will be given. You may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Seabolt, and I live at 4153 Gray Tuck Drive in Winston-Salem. I'm one of the people, along with 100 others, who signed the petition recently presented to you to stop the outside sandblasting at Piedmont Hoist and Crane, which is located directly in front of my home. I wanted to address today what has been said that I feel is somewhat a justification of how this situation came about. Piedmont Hoist and Crane initially asked for a manufacturing bee special use permit, and it was stated in planning and commissioners meetings that all their manufacturing would be done indoors. And then, as you are aware, they made a trip to the permit office and changed to a manufacturing C permit after residents began complaining of the outside sandblasting noise in the area. The idea that this company did not originally intend to do outside sandblasting at the location on Temple School Road, but changed their mind after the construction of the facility was complete and they had been in business for some time, is an absolute untruth. As soon as their first building was up, the sandblasting was going on. It began as soon as they opened, and we were even told during the construction of a second building that they built that perhaps they were constructing that building to take the sandblasting inside. That was, of course, not true, but this is just one example of the false hopes that we've been given in the last 4 years of dealing with this noise. We were told at the last meeting of the county commissioners that Piedmont Hoist and Crane's owner reached out and met with Commissioner Martin and County Manager Watts. According to Dr. Martin, the owner has said that he wants to be a good neighbor. As of now, the sandblasting continues, and I was hoping for an update of some kind or a timeline on the sandblasting being moved indoors to an enclosed building where it can no longer be heard. Again, we're all hoping that this time this is not just going to be another false hope. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you.
Randy Honeycutt, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name's Randy Honeycutt, and I live at 6033 Forest Trails Drive. And I've got the same, I want to talk about the same problem. I live in the Forest Trails. And yeah, when the sandblasting started, I didn't know what it was. And I thought it really sounds like your next door neighbor is pressure washing their house or something. It's really loud. And as Ms. Seabolt said, I remember when the zoning request change was made, it was told to us, and I read, where it was only going to be inside, no outside processing. And so there was no opposition to it. Herbalife and Caterpillar's over there, several other businesses. Their campuses are kept nice. Piedmont Crane and Hoist is just out of character. And so we complained, and I think and actually they were being fined at one time they were out of compliance. And then later on we found out that they had got a permit. And we were told that the permit probably shouldn't have been issued, but they issue hundreds and hundreds of permits all the time, and this one slipped through. And that's understandable. I can understand that. But again, we were told that the need for the zoning change was only so that they could store outside equipment. That was it. And that the change needed to be made because of that. And again, I've seen the video where, not this board, but some of you were on that board that voted for the change. And in that, right before the vote, it was said that no outside processing. And so that's what the board voted for. And then they went and got this permit, and it's really loud, and it just shouldn't be allowed there. All the other companies are good neighbors. You don't even know they're there, except we have On shift changes, you got a little traffic, but honestly, I'd rather have them there than 400 or 500 houses. But it just seems like y'all could do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra Robertson, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello. My name is Sandra Robertson. I live at 6028 Forest Trails Drive in Winston-Salem. I've lived there with my husband since 1998. We moved to Forsyth County in 1996 after we both retired from the U.S. Navy. Going forward, when I use the word we, I am referring to my husband and I. I'm here to support my neighbors in the noise complaint against Piedmont Hoist and Crane for outside sandblasting. My husband and I are both retired and at home most of the time during the week when Piedmont Hoist and Crane is in operation. We can hear the noise inside our house and have to turn on the TV or music to drown it out. We can most definitely hear the noise outside our house, and we are unable to enjoy our outside living areas and our yard, as the noise is quite disturbing. For what it's worth, at this point, back in June of 2018, letters were sent out by Piedmont Hoist and Crane regarding an informal meeting with the neighborhood to review their planned project on Temple School Road. These letters did not go to everyone in the Forest Trails neighborhood. My household did not receive that letter, and therefore we were unaware of what was happening. I find it concerning that my household was not included in the mailing, although I am impacted by the noise generated by Piedmont Hoist and Crane's business operations. In addition to the annoying noise, another concern going forward is that any one of us impacted by this must disclose this nuisance if we ever decide to sell our homes. The requirement to disclose conditions that affect a property is mandated by North Carolina law. As a licensed North Carolina real estate broker myself since 2003, I have worked with hundreds of home buyers and sellers. From my experience, home buyers are greatly turned off by anything that negatively affects a property and usually will pass on that property to go find another home. For the affected property, this results in longer time on the market, which further indicates to buyers that there must be something wrong with the property, which then leads to price reductions, which affects the seller's bottom line. The ultimate result is decreased property values for everyone in the area. And I'm sure you know that, but I have to spell it out. If anything negative is not disclosed and the homeowner knew about it, sellers face the possibility of a lawsuit. We hope that you will do the right thing and correct the wrong that was committed here in regards to quietly giving a special permit to Piedmont Hoist and Crane and therefore creating this unfortunate situation. Please put in place new procedures that will prevent this from happening again. Additionally, there are other parcels of vacant land in the vicinity of our neighborhood, some within the city limits of Winston-Salem and some under the jurisdiction of Forsyth County. We hope that going forward, you will look at the big picture before considering any zoning changes or special permits. Get beyond what's good for the businessman and the county tax coffers and take the residents into consideration. We are okay with all the proposed industrial development that we knew was coming, but we cannot accept any type of business that creates nuisances of any kind for the people that call the area home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christopher Murray, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Afternoon, Christopher Murray, 3312 Stacy Court. Before you start the timer on me, Dr. Martin, I do want to thank the board for the approval of the Greenlight project. I'm the son of a World War II veteran, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I just wanted to thank you all again for allowing me and my neighbors who are impacted, property owners, to speak on this issue, the sandblasting, Piedmont Hoist and Crane. In the last public meeting, Madam Vice Chair, you asked the county attorney, I believe that's who it was, if the board could revoke the current permit of the company since the activity they're performing was not what was represented when you originally voted to grant that permit. The gentleman deferred and suggested that it be discussed in a closed session later. So I would like to understand what was discussed on that topic in that session, if possible, and how I might get a copy of those meeting minutes if that's a possibility. Also, as an FYI, I was looking at the county website today and tried to go to the county attorney's page, and it's throwing an error, so someone might want to look at that. I can't find anything out about the county attorney, that's just, for what it's worth. Dr. Martin, in the last meeting, you had made comments that the owner of Piedmont Hoist and Crane had reached out to you and stated that he wants to be a, quote, good neighbor. Ms. Seabolt spoke to this in her comments on the phone, and I'm going to echo what she said. I would suggest that his actions of the past several years would indicate that I would ask you to be hesitant in believing what he's saying to you, and that their actions are literally louder than their words. Okay, what they're doing can outblast whatever they're going to tell you. I was looking at the commission's stated duties on the website, and I see that one of those is to act on zoning and other, quote, land use matters. And so I'm requesting that the board act on this item to have this company take their sandblasting indoors where it would be more appropriate, and that they initially stated they would do. They told us in those public meetings or those informal meetings that we would never know they were there. Well, that has again proven to be a large untruth. So, so far I feel, I appreciate the board hearing us. I feel like there may be some parts of the board that perhaps are placating us to hope that we go away. And I just want to say we don't plan to go away, and we ask that you bring this to a satisfactory conclusion. And that should be that they take this work indoors as they said they would. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Keith Mahaffey, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hey, my name is Keith Mahaffey. I appreciate, again, the opportunity to be here. I live at 3320 Stacy Court, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27107. And a few of us have spoke before. We've got a few new ones, and we had some that couldn't come today because of work requirements at the last minute. But the previous times I spoke, the first time was trying to give a general overview just to bring everybody up to speed. The second time I spoke was to kind of drill down a little bit on the process and the actual meeting where they obtained their special use zoning permit. Today, I'm just going to talk, I want to talk a little bit about those rules and procedures for that, and then I just want to talk a little bit about the first year from the time we first started hearing it up to the point where the county said we couldn't do anything, they couldn't do anything else to help us. I found a rules and procedures from the city county planning, and it echoes what I read last time. It says, for special use district zoning requests, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. And I found another one that was a special use permit case, and part of the verbiage, it says, that the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, and that the location and character of the use, if developed according to the application and plan submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with legacy plans. We find a lot of things like that kind of give a general purpose of what we hope would happen. But approximately in the summer, fall of 2019, we began hearing a large volume of noise coming from the business park at Temple School Road at Millennium Drive. And we assumed it was part of the construction process for like the shell buildings that were built out there. But after a little bit of time, we realized that something different was going on. And I personally rode over there to take a look. And I'm just inquisitive because, like I said before, I've said I'm a pro-business guy. So I pulled back there to where I saw they were sandblasting. And a couple of their workers come out and met me, and I just was inquisitive, asking them what was going on. They said they wouldn't hardly give me any information. I said, well, what's the name of the company? They gave me a false name. And so then some neighbors helped to find out more information online about the property and the company, and found out that some of the neighbors on Miss Seabolt's side and our side went to these initial public meetings, which was good. And like I said, they weren't given any indication of what really was going to transpire at that location. So what I did was I didn't know the process. I called Jeff Vaughn, who has since retired from planning, and he was my main contact through the process. He said that the business park was limited industrial with some general industrial, example Caterpillar, but they do all their work at Caterpillar, they're manufacturing inside. And that should be the precedent for any GI designation out there. And Caterpillar.
Can you begin to wrap your remarks up? Thanks.
Okay. Well, anyway, he researched and said manufacturing B was what was out there for that location where Piedmont Oyster and Crane. Said it did not allow them to do what they were doing. And they sent out an inspector, and we contacted James Taylor, and James has been a big help through this process. Even up to now, he is standing behind us on what we're trying to do. He is our city council representative. Well, anyways, I know that my time is limited. I was going to go through the email chain that I've got, going back and forth with the planning staff, which included John Floyd and Desmond Corley, and eventually Chris Murphy was involved in it. And I will say this, all of those guys were super and tremendous in helping us out. They went above and beyond, especially John Floyd, because he was the field person out there. I've got emails where they ask us to continually email them back and forth and let them know when they were doing it. John would go out there and he would send us a thing, hey, I'm finding them, I'm doing what I can, and then put in, he said, put in Chris Murphy, put in the county attorney. They were going to start, they started finding the company, but the company basically was adversarial to them. I've got emails to prove it. And so then the company, they'd stopped doing it for a little bit. When the heat was turned up, then all of a sudden they went and got a change in the permit. Nobody knew about it, not even the planning staff.
Mr. McHaffey, you're way over.
Okay.
Please wrap it up.
Yep, I'm going to wrap it up right here. I've got that email chain, but eventually it all come to a halt. And that was when we got the letter or the email from Chris Murphy saying that, want to let us know that we hit a dead end and that nothing else can be done because this company, unbeknownst to them and his staff, went and got that thing. So I can leave this information. I'll present it. I'm going to try my best to meet with some of you that I haven't met with to present more information, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, our last speaker is Yvette Abbott. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yvette Abbott. My address is 5462 Northridge Drive, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm here today, I'm not going to take much of your time. I'm here today to address the substance abuse problem that we have here in Forsyth County. We have a major substance abuse problem. I've pastored here in Forsyth County for over 17 years. Also, I am a registered substance abuse counselor with the state of North Carolina. Also, I'm an anger management and I'm addiction specialist. And the problem is, where I've applied for funding under Miracles Outreach International. I hope you all look over the application. But the problem here, what I would like to address today, I'm not going to hold much of time, is when I've been trying to get funding through our LMEs, trying to partner with the LMEs and the MCOs, and they said there's no substance abuse, no need for, so they won't let you partner with them. They say there's no need. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a major problem here. I've taken all of my personal funds, my family's funds to help in this community. And I said, I'm just going to take time out with my busy schedule, come down here to address this matter today. I've worked up under Denise Price. I don't know if she's here today or not, but I worked up under Denise Price. We've been knowing each other for years. I just want you to look over my substance abuse grant, and we need to make a change. I realize that there are some programs that's been out here, and what they're doing, they bring in, I thought this phone was turned off, I'm sorry. They bring in speakers, these celebrity speakers, I apologize, I had this off. They bring in celebrity speakers, and what they do a community cookout, but what do you do after that? We need a follow-up. You know what I mean? We need a follow-up. What do you do after this community cookout? And so, we here at Miracles Outreach International, we follow up with the clients. We have a 2-month program, and if they succeeded, we follow up with them for 2 more months to see what their needs are and to see how successful they are. So in there, I just want to just touch base. I know I didn't have but a few minutes, and thank you for listening to me. I didn't have anything wrote down. I just spoke from the heart, so. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great evening.
Chairman, if I may, Ms. Abbott, do you have your credentials, like a flyer or your card, and you can leave it with our board clerk, please?
I don't have it with
That's
me
okay.
today.
You can
I
leave
just
your
came
name
from
and
the
stuff with
doctor.
her. We'll get in touch.
I get it. Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For our folks that talked about Piedmont Hoist and Crane, we actually have had a meeting. It might be, if the board's pleasure, I know that Kyle Haney was a part of that, wrote a report on that, and maybe is it appropriate to give a little update on that, where we are? We've had some information. Kyle, if you don't, he just shared information with us we received actually this morning. So you can give a little background. And Minor Barnett also was a part of that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Minor and I went out and actually met with the company yesterday, the CEO and the Vice President of Operations, to really kind of get a sense of where they were with this issue and what they were doing to mitigate it, what their plans were to mitigate it. And so they did provide an update. They said, when they became aware, when the paper called in October, that they started to move forward with some additional mitigation actions. Really, they replaced the nozzles on the machines they were using for the sandblasting. They've also constructed a barrier. It's basically 2 large cargo containers with a covering over top of that, and are additionally looking to purchase a drape that would enclose one of the ends of the area that this is happening in. Additionally, they were also looking at other noise-reducing fencing. So that was what they indicated to us that they were looking at doing in regards to mitigating the sound coming from that sandblasting. It was not apparent that they were planning on taking that activity inside or enclosing that. They were looking for things that they could do on the outside to reduce the sound coming off of that property.
I just, having read I'm just remembering from reading your memorandum that they're on their, I guess, third iteration of nozzles.
Yes, sir.
They actually have another one, and as I think he mentioned they are actually getting decibel measurements in the neighborhood, particularly on.
Great track.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
A couple, and he mentioned they'd also followed up. He'd been to a couple of houses, and that no one had actually answered the door because we actually gave them some of your all's names and addresses that had spoken. And that, particularly on Great Tuck, I think, are the closest. And he had gone, and no one, he said, was there. And I know that Minor Burnett's been out to try to get measurements. And you want to comment a little about the sound issues and so forth that you've been a part of?
Yes, my staff and I have been engaged in trying to do a technical assessment of the sound intensity or the noise intensity, and not only record the decibel levels of the noise at different places while the activity is underway, but recording the ambient background sound level of that landscape when there's no observable special activities underway, to do a comparison of what the impact might be. And we have not had an opportunity in the last couple of weeks to visit. My staff have visited the area at least 3 times, but they have not done so at a time that the activity was occurring to get the measurements that we were seeking, and we will continue to visit the area a few more times. It would be easier to time it appropriately if someone in the area could call us and let us know when the activity is initiated so that we can try to get there while it's still occurring. One day it was discontinued while the staff were en route to the area in the car heading that way. On another day, they just happened to arrive right about the time the crew was stopping around midday, possibly for lunch or possibly for the whole day. But we are actively engaged in trying to do an objective technical assessment. And, we have a calibrated meter that we use, and we calibrate it before and after each time it's deployed to make sure it's measuring accurately, and just trying to get some objective technical information to help inform any of our decisions as to how we can do anything differently going forward.
Minor, do you think you could share your contact information with some of the neighbors, and they might be able to call you at an appropriate time?
Yes, and a member of my staff has already done that, and because that staff member is more readily available than I am on a daily basis, it would be better if they could call him instead of calling me and risking the fact that I may be away from the phone for a while before I get the message or return a phone call. But yeah, absolutely, I'd be happy to share my contact information.
Good. And I did both of you get the impression that there was a desire to act? I think we're all talking about actions. Like we heard some of the comments today about perhaps actions are not speaking loud. Have not spoken louder than the words. And and these are words. Did you get an impression some action may be forthcoming?
Yes, sir. So the company did indicate. Now, some of those things they've done, not the nozzles, but the containers were done for reasons just to protect the activity from weather. But they noticed that it could have a sound reducing quality, so they were looking at purchasing additional cargo containers to expand that, maybe furthering it down, hoping that would block some of the sound from going to the surrounding neighborhoods. They provided us with examples of the fencing that they had researched in anticipation of purchasing that to see if that would work. So I do think that there was, I think one of the speakers said that they indicated they wanted to be good neighbors. They certainly told us that. They certainly said they would be open to meeting with the surrounding neighbors. I think, from their perspective, it wasn't the economical solution to build a fully enclosed structure. They were looking for other methods of reducing that sound to the point that it would not be as noticeable to the surrounding community. But that is what they indicated.
Right. Any other questions for Kyle and Minor?
Actually, if I can just, from the memo, there were a couple things that were pretty specific. One is that the company is is saying that their decibel measurement, by their measure at Graytuck Drive, after the latest nozzle replacement was 45 to 50 decibels. So I guess the question, that apparently that was today, was their reading. So going forward, a question for the residents would be whether they've noticed any diminution in the noise level at this point. Not necessarily here today, but just for feedback later. And the other specific is that what they're citing as a weather protection arrangement was up no later than early September. So if there's been any resident noticed impact from those, that's what the company's talking about in terms of their mitigation efforts. Do you have any idea what they're talking about in terms of how high the fencing they're discussing is?
No.
It showed you the type. They showed you like a sample with the type of fencing.
Not physically. They shared a link to the website of a company that has a product that they are investigating and considering. And it comes in panels that I believe are 8 feet by 30 feet and can be installed horizontally or vertically, depending on the application.
If they are only talking about installing it horizontally in your assessment, is that likely to have any noticeable impact on the noise level or kind of noise at all the properties that are reporting complaints?
I don't think I have enough information to have a fully informed opinion right now, since we just met with them yesterday afternoon between 2:30 and 3:30 or 4, and I've just seen this information briefly for the first time. But, and their planning process is still in a relatively early stage, and we did comment to them at the end of our meeting that it would be very helpful for us and for them and for everyone if they could keep us informed about what their plans are and what the potential timelines for implementation of any strategies might be once they make more final decisions, and that we can, be confident that we know exactly what it is they're intending to do and when we can expect to see that happen.
Just for reference, the reason I'm asking the questions in this specific form that I am is my impression from the different terrain features involved that a purely horizontal approach is not going to address the audible impact at many of the nearby properties, because you've got vertical factors as well. If you don't have an effective covering completely over the site of the work, that it's not going to be helpful to a lot of the neighbors who are reporting problems. And I would welcome your assessment of that question when you've had an opportunity to.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. More to come on that. Continue. Mr. County Manager, I think we've probably talked enough today, and I think the offer by Piedmont Hoist and Crane to actually meet with the neighbors would allow direct communication, so we're not all he said and they said and whatever. And I think you have spoken clearly, Mr. McHaffey, with them, and perhaps requesting a time to have such a meeting would really be helpful. But I think we need to move on now. No. I just think we've talked enough today about it. I really appreciate it. Unless there's just a desire, will you speak for 15 seconds? You can start right now.
Okay. What they have done, and I encourage everyone on the board or any staff, go to this site and take a look, because it won't take you but about 5 seconds to see the way this company has occupied this space and what they have tried to erect in the last couple of months. I made a comment, I'm getting ready to stop.
And you're over 15.
It was like a cheerleader with a megaphone now. That thing they built, and Kyle knows what I'm talking about. It is unbelievably thinking that that's going to rectify this situation. It makes it worse.
Thank you, Mr. McAfee. Mr. Manager, we're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. We do have some business items for consideration this afternoon. We've reviewed these in briefing sessions, hopefully answered any questions you might have, so I'll go ahead and dive into it. We've got 4 budget finance items. Item 5 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. It appropriates fund balance received during fiscal year 2022-23 and additional revenue for fiscal year 23-24 from the National Association of County and City Health Officials. The grand total of new funding is $91,126.54.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 6 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance. It appropriates $50,000 from North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for agreement addendum 534 integrated targeted testing service, and this is for outreach, education, and vaccine referral services.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner McDaniel. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 7 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-2024 budget ordinance that appropriates health improvement dollars to the Employee Health Benefits Internal Service Fund. The amount is $75,000. $50,000 would be, it supports clinical wellness and behavioral health programs, and $25,000 supports the pharmacy.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And item 8 is the amendment to the Forsyth County Grant Project Budget Ordinance to transfer available Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance, or JAG, grant funds from the general fund, and that's $36,949.
Motion, please.
So moved.
So moved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we have 5 contractual matters. Item 9 is a resolution adopting a memorandum of understanding for transportation planning for the High Point Metropolitan Planning Organization, our membership in that. And this outlines the county's participation in that, renews the approval for this.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 10 is a resolution approving an amendment to an agreement with Propio LS LLC for telephonic and virtual interpretation services, mostly to support public health and DSS, but other Family Justice Center and others as well. It's an amount not to exceed $61,300.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. I do have one question in the discussion part. I'm just curious about, because we budgeted for this last year, I think it's a great idea. It's consolidation. Looks like it's very thorough, and clearly this is the lowest bid. So it's a good vendor, so forth. But we did estimate something in the neighborhood of about 20 grand, as I recall, and I think and we're already amending our budget to go to 60 plus. I'm just curious about the demand and what's happened differently on the demand for that. I don't know, maybe somebody can answer that.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Martin. Utilization has just drastically went up in some of our program areas. It's really just utilization. A lot has to do with our care management programs in public health. And then DSS, a lot of the waivers that were occurring during COVID was lifted, which is creating more traffic in DSS. Now, we do have our own interpreters as well, but when the interpreters are not available, then we are utilizing Proprio. It also, this particular contract has a video component, as previously it was mostly telephonic, and so I think just adding that video capability has also added to the utilization.
That's triple what our estimate was.
It is, yes, sir.
Yeah, it is, okay, good. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 11 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase of 2 Chrysler Pacificas, just a routine fleet refurbishment kind of upgrade. It's North Carolina Sheriff's Association, not to exceed amount $82,130.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 12 is a resolution approving the purchase of an EZ-IO vascular access device of some type from Teleflex LLC by Forsyth County Emergency Medical Services, Division of Emergency Services. It is a sole source agreement just because of the uniqueness of what it is, and it's not to exceed $68,835.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wizenhut, Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 13 is a resolution selecting and authorizing execution of a contract with Art Studio 7 to provide professional design services for the LEDC elevator modernization project. It's not to exceed $250,300, and in that are included some allowances for additional services and some reimbursements. It was discussed a bit last Thursday morning at the capital project discussion. It's interesting because we talked about kind of what's unique about this, but when I went back and looked at the schedule, actually the construction time on this, because they're going to be in there for so long, it's actually a year because you got to keep other elevators in place, and I think that's a big element in it as well. So, but I appreciate the concerns about that.
Good. Any ready for a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 14 is a property matter. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of a stormwater operation and maintenance agreement and easement with the city of Winston-Salem for county-owned real property located at 1931 Union Cross Road. As outlined in the resolution, TROSA will be responsible for obtaining all the permits, and basically all the costs are going to be carried by them through their construction project.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You got 3 tax administration matters. I believe you can take them all together. Item 15 is a resolution approving refunds in the amount of $12,732.54 from the North Carolina Vehicle Tax System. Item 16 also is North Carolina Vehicle Tax System in the amount of $17,589.71. And then you've got a resolution approving refunds by the tax assessor collector in the amount of $29,982.88 from the Board of Equalization and Review. And I was talking with John a little earlier, and he's kind of expects one more round of Board of Equalization review actions in December. So
Do we have a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Linville.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And then there's one report. It's an additional report to the Board of Commissioners from the Opioid Settlement Stakeholder Committee regarding the collaborative strategic planning process for Forsyth County's expenditure of opioid MOA settlement funds for your consideration.
I have one question on that report. And looking at all it's organized in two different ways, which I like. It's one organized by type of sort of strategy, sort of a strategy organization and those that are working on it. And then it's organized by the actual folks that are doing things. And one thing it does not include is like the investment in each of those. Like if you're, ABC vendor, for example, how many dollars are they getting from all sources? I mean, because there are multiple sources. That's one of the things that's, I mean, it's not complicated, but there are a lot of different, there's maintenance of effort issues, there's, opioid settlement dollars, there's part of what's been in a regular budget. There are lots of sources. And it would be, I'm not as concerned about the sources, although, because all of those two big ones will remain for the next 18 to 20 years. But I am interested in how much each of these agencies are getting, and ultimately, how many people are they serving? And that count is probably a hard one in a lot of ways. Because we are really fortunate to have this kind of investment, this kind of money to be applying to this awful, terrible problem. But we've got to somehow or another show that something's working. And that's where you got to have data to make that work. And some of the activities are things that you can measure how many people may have gotten exposed to a thing or attended an event, but somehow or another, looks like some of these efforts, it still keeps growing. And we've shut down a lot of the supply, has now been controlled a lot more. And I'm concerned. I appreciated the way it was presented, but there's a lot more of reporting that seems to be a part of the overall evaluation that's really, really important. I don't know if that's the format, but somehow or another, there's some agencies getting a big investment of dollars. Are they serving a good number, and are we getting ways we can measure results?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this particular report is for the Department of Justice for us to be in compliance with the memorandum of agreement. But our Behavioral Health Services Director, Denise Price, is very closely tracking outcomes, and we can absolutely pull together for you outside of this particular report any of the data that you need. So we are tracking the number of individuals that are being served. Obviously, we just started issuing funds for opioid settlement in July. And so this year we have a tracking mechanism. We have to track that information to the state as well, because we are accountable for those funds. So that is absolutely information we can provide. It would just not be as part of this particular report that the DOJ needs.
Yeah,
and Mr. Chairman, just to be a little overly technical, what you're looking at today and voting on is the report for the stakeholder committee. That's when Forsyth County chose to use option B. They held a stakeholder meeting. DOJ just wanted some additional information. We'd already done the work. They just wanted some additional words. But as the Deputy Manager Robinson indicated, there is a strong reporting provision that will be part of this going forward.
That's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. All righty. I think do we have a closed session item today? We do.
We have just a quick briefing just to review what's coming up on November 16th.
Then we have the closed session.
Yeah, and according to these guys, you do not need to take a recess unless you just want to, and I won't take a whole long time getting through this.
Okay, great. Well, then let's.
Mr. Chairman, will you please call for a vote to receive the reports?
Oh, okay. A motion to accept the report. Sorry. Motion approved by Commissioner Linville. I'll second those. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Sorry. So do we need a motion to adjourn to go into this?
Move that we adjourn.
Commissioner Vice Chair Wizenhut, motion to adjourn. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Now we're ready for the briefing.
Okay, very good. So what you have, the agenda items that we are currently working on trying to wrap up for November 16th. We'll go into detail with these next Thursday, but just kind of a quick overview of what we're looking at. There is one public hearing on petition to close a portion of Clemens Road. Is anybody here to do that? You are here. Oh, hey, Shaylee. You want Shaylee to come up and do a quick look at that? Come on up, Shaylee. That'd be great.
It's going to be quick.
Shaylee's gonna be quick. She's great. That's right. We didn't have a big planning item, so there you go. You got it.
Sure.
Okay.
She's going to pull it up for me. I will note that the signs went out on the 23rd of October, so the public notice signs were out.
Yeah, you've actually already seen the part of this because they. Yeah, it's the action to set the public hearing, and then it's the public hearing on it.
Right. So as she's pulling it up, this is the road where Lasara LLC was coming in and developing. On one side of the road, Mr. Hall has actually sold part of his land to them for development. On the other side, Mr. Werner, I believe, was a part of the petition to close this piece of Clemens Road. And basically what they're planning to do is close it, so then the Lasara actual input, like their roads into their subdivisions, would go to their houses that they're developing. And then Mr. Hall and Mr. Ferner would still have their part of Clemens Road that they can access their property without going into that subdivision development. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, picture.
Okay, big picture. I think that's pretty much all. Actually, still trying to get it up. That's pretty much the gist of it. And then NCDOT had went and investigated and saw that it met all the standards for abandonment, and there seems to be no issues from the property owners. I think that's all.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Shaylee. All right. So one public hearing matter. You got three special resolutions. One of them is a resolution giving notice of intention to reduce the salary allowances or other compensation of a non-incumbent register of deeds of Forsyth County to take office in December 2024 for the two elected department managers in the county this year from the register of deeds. Before their election, the board has historically established a salary for a non-incumbent person who would come into that, really for the purposes of establishing the filing fee. And the idea would be that if you take somebody who's not experienced, who maybe never been a register of deeds, and they were successful in the election, you would really want them to start at kind of the minimum of that pay range. And so the idea is the filing fee will be based on that. Obviously, if it does not affect the current register of deeds salary at all, it really is just for the purposes of the filing fee. Did I describe that well enough, Gordon?
Yes, you did an excellent job. Once someone is elected and in office during their term of an elected person, you cannot reduce their salary. So if somebody came in, if a non-incumbent came in at a high salary and was not very well qualified, you wouldn't be able to reduce that. So this allows you to start at a lower level, which you could always increase.
So we'll see that in, I'm sorry, Mr. Woodbury.
I'll just ask you in a second. I'll ask.
Okay. I knew there was a question, so, and we can chat about that. Item 3, you got a resolution for Adoption Awareness Month, and then you've also got World Prematurity Awareness Day in Forsyth County as two other special resolutions. There is a resolution authorizing acceptance of a mini grant from the North Carolina Department of Health Association awarded to Forsyth County Department of Public Health. You'll see a lot of detail on that. Some budget and finance items. Item 7 is a budget ordinance to appropriate $1,008,877 that is really around local workforce development through public health. You'll get some information details. That's really an opportunity. It's some funding that is coming down that we'll need to do some programming and some planning around that. You've got more of a housekeeping matter with the $9,015.12 from the Department of Public Health for a retroactive Medicaid payment. Items 9 and 10, while they're in two sections, it really is an effort to try to go ahead and move on some of the capital projects that you heard about last Thursday, particularly Tanglewood Clubhouse project, and if we can, we'll try to wrap in funding for the lock project at the detention center. So, we're in the process of closing out fiscal year, the complexity of these multi-year funds and trying to find where we've underspent with some projects and trying to make sure that we've got sufficient funds to do this. The early indication is that we would be able to move forward with the Tanglewood Clubhouse project and the lock project with existing funds from project savings. And so still working on that one, but we hope to bring that to you in detail next Thursday. Item 11 is the contract with IL Long Construction for the Highland Avenue Center project. That's that commercial upfit in the Highland Avenue Center, really to support the kind of the behavioral health work that we've got there. That project is complex as well because it, like everything else, is coming in high, but we're working to try to get that to you so we can get these things moving. You've got the school nursing and oral health services public health agreement through the schools. You've got lab testing services that we provide to Davidson County and an interlocal agreement related to that. We're trying to get that Kernersville Recycling Center back up and operating. We recognize that the lease agreement between the county and Kernersville had expired. We need to get that done, but we're close to getting the recycling center back in operations. We are hopeful, and I know Gordon and a lot of folks have done a lot of work to try to get the agreement with the city of Winston-Salem around the Brushy Fork Creek Streambank remediation project underway. The city made a commitment to that project, and so we need to get that interlocal agreement resolved with that. Item 16, you've got a resolution authorizing execution of a contract for real estate appraisal services. We are in the sort of the most important part of this revaluation project, and John Burgess really has done some contingency planning to make sure that the work gets done in the time frame that it has to get done for the revaluation to be effective. And so this is part of that contingency plan to be able to go outside and get some outside appraisal services if he needs them, and we are short in appraisal staffing right now. The execution of a contract for payment processing services, pretty much an annual agreement, and then the library does buy a lot of online services through an online computer library center company as well. And then the last item on that is refunds by the tax assessor collector. And I did it on front and back. I don't think I missed anything, but we have, some big items that we're working on trying to bring to conclusion so that we can present them in detail next Thursday for adoption on November 16th if it meets satisfactorily with the board. So that is it. The only other item I have is closed session motion. That was pretty quick, wasn't it?
That was good.
Okay. Ready for me?
Yes.
All right, very good. Need to ask the board to consider a motion to go into closed session to discuss a matter to consult with the attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143(3)1811A3. Since there's no other business to come before the board at this meeting, following the closed session, the meeting will be adjourned.
So moved. Motion is seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.